Right, I presume we are now live. If this is working, then I'm pretty sure we should be live. But if we are, then I'll get started. So hello everybody. I did a run earlier on today. We had Ford Street Racing, the gold percent category. Now get ready for something a bit different. Now this is more my regular cliche, or say regular cliche. This is more my regular street, shall I say. And this is Colin McRae Rally 2005, but not as you know it. And it's the 2005 game. However, it's a bit different. It's the N-Gage version. So, once upon a time, Nokia decided to make a phone. It was called Nokia N-Gage. It was also a games console. There was only about 20 or so games made for it. This happened to be one of them. I'll go in detail a bit more about it, but long story short, we have been trying for what feels like a eternity to get this game to work, and lo and behold, we're using something called EKA2L1, which is a operating system emulator that emulates the Nokia phone and is able to, obviously, you can map your controllers and things like that, and hence how we're able to play it. I'll get into the game and everything a tad bit more, but if we are ready to go on time, I'll give you a countdown, and I'll explain pretty much as we go. So if we're ready, countdown from 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so, first things first, where do I begin with this? So, might as well start at the very beginning. So, this is the Novice Championship, more specifically, this is the Standard Cars category. There is a Bonus Cars category as well. And because we're using the Standard Cars, it's the ones that are available at the start of the game. So you only get a select few cars in this. Now, it is worth noting, if this game looks familiar, that's because it is. So, allow me to explain, there's quite a bit to explain. The Novice Championship is 8 rallies. Each rally has 4 stages each. Now, there is something missing, but again, I'll explain a bit more as we go. So what essentially this game is it's Colin McRae Rally 2, for the PlayStation 1, even nicking all of its game sounds and everything from that version of the game, and it replaces it with 2005 cars. So the cars in this game are all from the 2005 game, the main 2005 game, not Colin McRae Rally 2. The physics are slightly different, albeit not that much different, but they are a bit more tricky to get used to. So what essentially we are driving here, so this is the Citroen Zarya. This is available, just to kind of put it in perspective. So all the stages that are in this game are all from Colin McRae Rally 2 from the PlayStation 1. Say from the PC, but it is from PlayStation 1. And all the car sounds are nicked from the PS1 version as well. So we have the Citroen Zarya, which has got the Seat Cordoba car sound, which is always an interesting time, always a fun time. So, like I said, this game came out, I think it was around 2005, the N-Gage was already released by then, and yeah. We're going to be doing a lot of shortcuts and things like that. There's actually, because of the fact that this is the PS1 version of Colin McRae Rally 2, it means that a lot of the shortcuts that worked in that version of the game also work in this version. There are some cuts that don't work, but I'll be showing off the ones that do work. So hopefully you'll enjoy this run as it goes. There's a little bit more to explain. So because this is the PS1 version of Colin McRae Rally 2, albeit modified with 2005 cars and stuff, it means that they had to reduce how much that the game was putting out. So, for example, just to kind of do a comparison as to what we could have expected, but with what we actually got. So, Colin McRae Rally 2 had over 80 stages. It was 84 stages, I believe. altogether. This is most notably seen in the Expert Championship. So in that game, in the Novice Championship, you have 4 stages per rally, except from Greece, Sweden, Kenya and the UK, where you'd have a super special stage. If you were doing the Intermediate Championship, you'd have 8 stages, or 9 if you had the super specials in there. And on Expert, you'd have 10 stages, with, again, it being 11 if you have the super special stages. In this game, Novice has 4 stages on every rally, so the super special stages are gone. Intermediate has 6 stages per rally, and Expert has 8. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the standard cars category. There is a bonus cars category because you can unlock other cars via winning the rallies in the varying championships. The fastest car in this game is the Peugeot 205 T16. Most notably as well, this was also the fastest car available in Colin McRae Rally 2. So, hence the reason why there's a lot of similarities. The other thing as well, that the other similarities that the game has nicked is also it's nicked the service stations between each one. Not only that, not only has it nicked them, but it has also took the dynamic weather system. So this game has, as I said, it has a dynamic weather system. In Colin McRae Rally 2, that was the only game in the entire Colin McRae Rally franchise that had this dynamic weather system. Right up until the fact we had, I believe it was Dirt Rally. I want to say Dirt Rally 2, or maybe even Dirt 4, I'm not sure. But let's put it this way, it was a long time before dynamic weather actually appeared again. Which makes this game, and also its original version, Colin McRae Rally 2, quite a spectacle to run. The cuts are all like, as you might imagine, the cuts play a huge part in this game, and make the game a lot faster than it actually should be. You'll see, like, as time goes on, the various cuts that we do. And as I said, so we're going to start here with Finland, which we're already finishing. Then we move on to Greece. Then it is what I will call Tarmac Heaven, which is France. We then move on to Sweden, then Australia, then over to Kenya, then to Italy, and finally finish in the UK. Now, the rules for CMR2, or Colin McRae Rally 2, we nicknamed it CMR2 for short, has the same rules applied here. So, for example, it is possible to get wet weather on Finland. It is possible to get wet weather in Italy, and it is possible to get wet weather in the UK. Now, the dynamic weather system, as I mentioned before, this is actually what makes or breaks runs, interestingly enough. So, for example, Colin McRae Rally 2 on the PlayStation 1 and PC as well, has the best runs tend to have like the best weather cycles for every country. So like there's barely any rain on the UK, there's barely any rain on Italy, and there's no rain on Finland. All the other rallies are fine. You don't have to worry about getting rain or anything like that. In Sweden it can snow. If it snows in Sweden, do not be alarmed, because this does not actually affect the tyre grip. But the thing is that, as I said, the logic that you have for Colin McRae Rally 2 also applies here. So, for example, the chance of getting rain in Finland is around, I want to say, the numbers are always a bit tricky, but it's around 40%. And it varies over the course of the full rally. In Greece, you're never going to get... oh, give me to do that. I've done that before. That wasn't good. Never mind. I always need to remember not to hit that so hard. I've done that a lot. Never mind. It's fine. Nice. Not too bad. I've had worse. But anywho. Yeah. So that's Finland 1. We're now going to move into Greece. And yeah, as I was saying, so in Finland you have like about a 40% chance of rain. In Greece you don't get any rain at all. France, again, same thing there. Sweden, I think I'd say it's about 50-50 whether it snows or not. Australia and Kenya, you don't have to worry about rain. It's extremely rare, and I mean extremely rare. You're talking like less than 0.1% of it raining. Italy has, I think it's around 70% chance of rain, and the UK has around 85 to 90% chance of rain. It's even more rare when you take into the fact that you also have the, if you can get a full dry Italy and a full dry UK, it's seen as like a godsend. The thing is, you think, well, what difference does the dry and the wet weather make? Well, I'll tell you. So the dry weather, the comparison, or should we say like the delta comparison by the way, is around 40 seconds on the UK that you lose because of the wet weather. I think in Italy it's about 15-20 seconds, so and in Finland it's around another 10 or 15 seconds. So overall, in terms of what it actually is or how much time you can lose, it's over a minute. So hence the reason why we always want to try and get the best weather. The best weather will never spawn every time. It is just completely random whether you get it or not. Also, we have this interesting little thing here, which, believe it or not, this was found by a member of our community. Recently, a lot of new cuts have been found thanks to someone who got in contact with a couple of the top runners of this game. Yeah, so also this is the thing, yes, you can do this as well if you so desire. Not quite, let me try that again. There we are. So you can actually skip the mountain there, if you're lucky, which, despite that not going my way, that didn't do too bad. So, I've had better stages than this, but that's fine. But believe it or not, them two respawns actually save you around, I think it's something like 20 or 30 seconds on the stage. There's a lot of cuts here that have been picked up through Colin McRae Rally 2 and vice versa. Some of these cuts are limited to the PS1/N-Gage version of the game. You may be wondering why I haven't really touched upon the PC version of this Colin McRae Rally 2 in 2005 that much. That's because, so 2005 as a whole, if you were to play Colin McRae Rally 2005, I would highly recommend playing the PC port for that game. Obviously the record is set on there, but just note that what you're basically getting on PC or PS2 or Xbox even, depending on whichever version you want to play, that is in my opinion, the real version. There's also a PSP port, which in my opinion is quite well done. Very hats off to Codemasters for cramming the huge game onto the PSP. Weirdly enough, that was nicknamed Colin McRae Rally 2005 Plus. Why the plus bit came in, I will never have any idea. Genuinely speaking, not a clue. There is one other thing I should mention as well about the N-Gage version real quick, which is the fact that you'll see that there's not a lot of trees and bushes that spawn. That's simply because of the fact that obviously due to the Nokia N-Gage not being as powerful as, say, I don't know, a desktop PC, it's not able to spawn as many objects on screen, so you'll find that some of the cuts that we do in this version are a lot easier. And also, I haven't even mentioned this yet, but you will have noticed, I think by now, is the sound for it as well. Nice, that worked. So there is a lot of sound loop, and I can only apologise for that. That's the emulator itself that does that. But as far as I know, there isn't really a workaround for it. So unfortunately, you'll just have to bear with me. Also, there are little places like that you can cut if you so wish to do so. There are several camera views as well in this game, although there's none for a cockpit view. That was unsurprisingly removed from this version of the game because, well, the console's not as powerful and not able to render as much, so it would have been an absolute handful. Also, what else do I need to mention? Yes, I forget about this. So, a few things to quickly mention is that every 2 stages you have a service area where you repair your car. Fortunately for us, we're probably not going to have to repair the car. There might be 1 or 2 occasions where we'll have to, but we don't actually need to. Obviously, the idea as well, this is one of the main things, is that this run and Colin McRae Rally 2 are all about damage limitation. So you don't want to damage the car any more than you absolutely have to. Also, recently a massive skip was found for this stage, where you can beat it about 1 second or 2 seconds faster than what I'm doing now. Personally speaking, I'm using the old strats, which, in my opinion, are marathon friendly, and I know how to do them. But yeah, in the PC version of the 2005 game, it's a lot longer of a run. It's about an hour long, there or thereabouts. And the PC version of Colin McRae Rally 2, which is basically an upscaled HD version of this, which has got a silent patch, actually has quite a few interesting... That's not what I wanted to hit, but thanks game. Actually has a few interesting points to it that I kind of want to mention. So first and foremost, the PlayStation 1 version, the PC version, do have super special stages that you'll be required to beat. But also there are cuts that are in the PC version that you can't do in the PS1 or N-Gage version due to draw distance. So because the PC version is able to run at a much longer draw distance and everything like that, it means that we're able to actually perform cuts. Even if your PC version is set to like draw distance 1, like one of the guys in the community has it set to draw distance 1, because he's playing on a 10-year-old laptop, we'll gloss over that. And he's playing at like a very low draw distance, but you can still do it. For some reason in the PC version, you're able to do these cuts, but in the PS1 and N-Gage version, you're not. Luckily, there is a good chunk of cuts that was found for the N-Gage, the PC version, that can be used on N-Gage and on PS1. For example, there was this one here. So you can do that there, get yourself lined up right next to that tree, and that will respawn you further ahead. You think that would be slower. This actually saves time. Now, believe it or not, we can actually do, as you'll see, a lot of these cuts that I'm showing you can do on PC. There are alternative ways of doing them, and some of these we might not do because there are faster approaches, but just note that the cuts that you can see on this version, most of them you can pull off in the PC version. As a result of all of these cuts and stuff and all that good stuff, is that what actually happens with this game, or what's happened, is not just with this game, but with Colin McRae Rally 2 in general, is that the world record for the Novice Championship has been brought down from like 1 hour 40 down to like a 1:35, and then I came along and broke it into 1:27. I didn't realise how fast I was. And then, yeah, it just went a bit over the top from there. Like, since then, there's been, in the last like 4 years, 5 years even, there has been so many cuts that have been found by various members of our community that have really made this game being so broken and made people go, holy cow, I didn't know you could do that in this game. And it's like, yeah, you can actually do that in this game. That's the thing. Also, with that being said, that is Greece out of the way. We're now going to move on to France, where I'm going to shorten my gearbox. So that, again, this is something that we do in the Colin McRae Rally 2 game. So in the whole game, we will be shortening our gearbox twice. We will be shortening it in France, in Italy, and the UK. Now, in the UK, we don't actually need to shorten the gearbox at all. The gearbox should really stay normalised. However, the reason why we change our gearbox to a shortened gearbox is simply because of the fact that it provides better acceleration, and because the UK rains, or for the most part it does, or 9 times out of 10 it does, what it actually means is that we're able to accelerate faster. So if we get dry weather, we're going to lose time. If we get wet weather, we're actually going to manage to keep our stage times quick, because of the fact that the car, yes, okay, will be a bit annoying because of the gear changes, but for the most part, it's not too bad. I should point out as well is, so another thing to mention about the similarities between Colin Rally 2 and this game is that in Colin Rally 2 you have the championship, which is like the main mode, obviously, same as this game. You have an arcade mode, which includes circuit racing, and you have a challenge mode. Now, the challenge mode is simply just head-to-head races, 4 races, or you can adjust it to however you're liking. It also supports up to 8-player local, not local split screen, but you can do 2-player split screen for up to 8 players, which is really good. Obviously, you just have to pass the controller. Yeah, the challenge mode and the arcade mode are missing from this version of the game. This was probably mainly due to the fact that because the N-Gage was also seen as a online gaming platform as well, we had N-Gage Arena, which unfortunately doesn't work in the emulator at all. But presuming we can get the service online, or presuming the service gets online, then obviously you can do like rallies against people and stages against people. I don't know about the championship, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. There we go. Also, I will mention, so there are some extremely big cuts in France, none of which I'm actually going to be doing, simply because of the fact that one of our community members, known as Pharaoh, the capacitor, or Pharaoh, to give him his name, has found quite a few shortcuts. I wouldn't be able to name every single one he's found. However, he did find one for this stage that allows us to beat the stage about a minute faster. Why am I not going for it if it saves a minute? That's simply because of the fact of how difficult the cut is to get. Now, I have never seen it been done on this version of the game, but it may be possible. However, on the PC version, it is doable. So simply the hill that I've just gone past there and then, you can actually clip through a barrier and start to drive round the grass verge, and providing you don't fall drive into the void, you're actually able to basically drive outside of the stage and drive towards the finish. And yeah, you can beat this stage a lot faster than was originally intended. So I see we have some regular viewers in chat with Tim. Thank you for the good luck. But the one thing I have said to a few people is that with this game is that if you so desired anyway, is that if you play or have played Colin McRae Rally 2 in the past and you know what that game's like, then you'll be perfectly fine with this one. The one thing I will mention is that, so I said before about the reduced stages that the later championships get at the high difficulties. So that's also another thing. So not only do they get short amount of stages, but also it means that stages 9 and 10 from every rally in Colin McRae Rally 2 has been removed completely. Like, for example, the 8 stages that you get in this game are the first 8 stages of Finland, Greece, France, Sweden, Australia, Kenya, Italy and the UK in that game. So yeah, just worth keeping the mention out for that, or just worth mentioning that. Also, if you're wondering how fast these cars are compared to the bonus, or this car is compared to the bonus car, or sorry, how much slower this car is compared to the bonus car. So, for example, so nice sound effect that's stuck. Very nice. So, the world record for this is 1:17:35 set by myself. We're using the fastest car, which is the Citroen Zara. The bonus car's world record is faster than that. It's a 1:15, I think it's 1:15:32 or something like that. So yeah, quite a bit faster. There is a cut here, but I'm not going to be doing it as it requires on flipping the car over. And even though I can get it, and it does save a couple of seconds, but I'm not going to try it in a run because it's too risky. Unsurprisingly, I go for whatever's marathon safe. Ones that I definitely know I can pull off. There are one or two where I go, and it leads me to question myself. There are a few cuts that I can do, which I can show off. Most notably, one of them is called Ice Skip, which I'd highly recommend sticking around for. It's in the next rally, and it's on Sweden Stage 2. Long story short, this skip was found about 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. I want to say maybe 6 years ago. The skip itself is difficult to get. However, with enough practice you can pull it off rather consistently. This game might be a bit tricky with me, but I'm hoping it's not too much of a pain in the backside. But the ice skip was, like I said, first found about 5 years ago by a runner named Zorfkorp, who's still within our community and active. I can kind of give a brief history on this game, to be honest, as in, like, well, say brief history, but the history of this game was that last year, one of the members of our community now, who wasn't a member at the time, who just decided to join in, found out that this N-Gage emulator is a thing and was wondering about CMR 2005 on the N-Gage, which is this game. And I'd seen gameplay and I said, if there's a chance we can run it, then we will definitely run it. So obviously, most of the runs that are on the board were actually from a community race that we did to break the new leaderboard in. I then spent the next couple of days doing the other championships, seeing what they were like with other cars, and even went over them with bonus cars, bar the Expert Championship, which I've still yet to do. So hence the reason why it's got, I think, 5 runs on the leaderboard for this already. Well, that was because of the fact of how we, like, basically worked this game in, and we quickly realised a lot of things about this game. Like, we quickly found that, oh hey, this works, oh hey, that works. But also the fact that, like I said, one of our members, Fairrod, was like, oh yeah, so this actually works in this version. And yeah, it just kind of went from there, really. So one thing I will say for sure is that you barely get any night stages at all in the Novice Championship. In fact, Sweden Stage 4 is technically a night stage. However, you probably won't be able to tell because it looks like it's at sunset. So it is dark, but it's not like actual night. When you get to Intermediate and Expert, although it's more Expert, you have the night stages. In Colin McRae Rally 2, you already get night stages in Intermediate. Less so for Novice, but yeah. There is also another cut that saves you about a second here, but I'm going to also gloss over that. And we're going to just go from there, really. It also gets me wondering how far back you have to go for a phone that wasn't able to match a computer. I think nowadays a lot of phones can match a basic computer. And it was a weird time. The 2000s, obviously, for sure, were a very weird time. There was a lot of, you know, obviously the console wars were in there, I'll call them brief stint, or a brief stint. There was a lot of interesting films that came out. Technology was kind of all over the place. We had this come out in the mid-2000s, even though at this point we was already heading to the next generation. It's very strange. So just to mention, so there's a couple of other games for the N-Gage, as I mentioned before. I believe there's a Rayman title for the N-Gage. There was also a Sega Rally Championship. game for the Engage. There was a few other games as well. I can't remember. Like most of the, I can't really remember like the actual Engage games list. But yeah, it wasn't just racing games the Engage had on it. Surprisingly, it did have some well-known titles or series, shall I say. But yeah, so for the most part, as I said, France is relatively straightforward for me, I feel. It's Italy that has to be the worst and hardest of all of the rallies because, yeah, that's the thing. As I said as well, we will be taking some slightly different shortcuts to that we take in the PC version because the Engage doesn't render as much. So because it doesn't render as much, like trees and bushes, we're going to take advantage of that. And it means it'll be a lot easier when it comes down to everything else. There we go. So that is France all done and dusted. We're not going to need to change the gearbox for Sweden or even Australia either. So as you can see, it's dry for now, but as I was mentioning before, you can have dynamic weather. So it may start to snow after about a minute or so. Maybe might even be a bit less than that. But the thing is, in Colin McRae Rally 2 on the PS1, you wouldn't actually know when you got the dynamic weather change. So this is something that's an interesting one. So this is actually exclusive to the PC version of Colin McRae Rally 2. So in Colin McRae Rally 2, you usually get like a grey screen. Not everybody encounters this, but if you get a grey screen at the start of the stage, it means that the weather is going to change. And usually it's dry to wet, not the other way around. If it starts to go dry, you won't have the dynamic weather. It will be, the stage will be wet and you'll finish it dry. But yeah, on the PC version of the game, you can actually tell whether it is going to rain or not. Whereas in the Engage version of this game and in the PlayStation 1 version of the second Colin McRae Rally title, you won't actually see when it's going to start raining or when it's going to start snowing. Now, we could obviously check the weather forecast if we so desired, but we're not going to do that. It's not actually cheating, you can do that if you so desire. But there is actually one thing I do want to mention. So I was talking to someone else about this recently, is that because these physics are taken from, I mean, the Engage physics, so it's a bit all over the place, but because these physics are roughly taken from Colin McRae Rally 2, it means that we know how the cars are going to handle. Not in its entirety, but yeah, it's thereabouts. You roughly know what you're getting into. But the dry tyres, so for gravel and for tarmac, are actually the best tyres to use. So, for example, when we do Australia and Kenya, if it starts to rain, for whatever reason, if it did, then we'd still stick with the dry tyres, because the wet tyres in this game are rubbish, to say the absolute least. In Sweden, you get spiked tyres, so for those that are not familiar with rally terms, that basically means you have, not like, we're not talking death spikes in your tyres, but yeah, you'll have spikes in your tyres to keep grip in the roads. Think of it as an alternate version of snow chains for your tyres. You know, the alternate version of a snow tyre. So, can we get a 1.1? Yes, we can. That's pretty good. Impressed with that. Okay, so here comes the behemoth. Here comes the ice skip. Now, there are several ways around it. I'm going to try and hopefully pull it off first time, but basically there is a fence that we're going to aim for. We're going to try and hopefully get the car flipped over. By doing so, what happens is the game decides that, oh, okay, you flip the car over, and you go, yeah, we flip the car over, and the game goes, oh, okay, I'll spawn you further ahead on the track. And after, if you drive across a bit to get to the next bit and flip the car over there, you're able to beat an ice section, which normally takes about, well, roughly, we didn't actually time it properly, but it's around 40-50 seconds, and you can beat it in about 25. Give or take, it might be a bit less, a bit more, not sure. But basically, let's put it this way, it saves time. So this is what I mean here. So I'm just going to go quiet for a second until I get it. There we go. So we've got the first bit there, so that's spawned us further on. We're going to cut through here because this is actually faster. Now this is the second part here. So you actually, yeah, there we go. So what you're actually able to do there is you're able to basically spawn yourself a lot closer to the track, or a lot further ahead on the track, and this basically means that you're able to do this and cut yourself a huge lead. You wouldn't think either as well about that last part where I was cutting across the snow, because the snow in this game is is lethal. So snow in this game is quite bad because what it does is it will slow your car down, which is useful for getting around corners and things, but for the most part you obviously want to make sure that you don't go too bad, if that makes sense. So this is looking like a pretty good stage 2. It is actually. That was a gold split. I got 2 gold splits in a row. Nice. There we go. So recently a new cut was found for this stage, stage 3. It wasn't too big of a cut at first, or at least I didn't believe it was. But turns out, no, you can really go to town on this stage. The cut only saves like 2 seconds or so, but it's enough to save some sort of time, or some form of time. So as you can see, it started snowing. If we was on PC, we would have seen that because we would have got the graphical bug. But because we're on N-Gage, as I said, you wouldn't know when it snows until you actually see it, or unless we check the weather format. So one of the things I'm going to do here, and hopefully not mess it up, is I'm going to cut myself around here, like this. There we go. So this, believe it or not, does save a little bit of time. Doesn't save that much, but it does save about a second or two over what we were previously doing. So basically the stage involves going a bit further down the road, and then, yeah, from there it's like, yep, you're all good, you're fine there. And that's stage 3 done. Got another gold. What is going on with my Sweden today? Wow. My Sweden's getting really good. I don't know if this could be... This might be a completely gold Sweden, if I get this right. There's also one other thing I should mention. So, if you play with automatic gears, the car will immediately set off in first gear. If you're playing in manual, you have to manually put it into first gear as soon as he says go. Which is the reason why I don't leave straight away. Just so everybody is aware. This also creates a funny little bug that will appear at the end of the game, and you'll see that when we get there. There's also another thing that we know about. It's been known for quite a few years, but basically if you change up what's going over a jump, you're actually able to max out the car's speed. And there's a weird bug where, we exploit it obviously, where if, for example, you're going over a hill and you're in 5th gear, and you're like medium revs, shall we say, when you go over it and you've got your foot flat, you'll actually max out the gear ratio, the rev counter, which is really funny. It's like, okay, cool. So, this is a thing. Yeah, you can do this, where you're able to actually cut behind all of this. So this is like a glitch that somebody had found recently. But yeah, they found this can't remember how long ago now. I want to say about 2 years ago. It was during the pandemic anyway. Might have been 3 years ago actually. Don't think of it. But anyway, Zorfkov had found this one, and what a game-breaking bug it is. We found out that you can also do this as well. You can go this way if you so desired. And normally I would change the camera view, but I'm not going to do that. You can flip the car if you want to do that as well. Although it would have been nice if I didn't flip the car. That would have been a gold as well. Had I not flipped the car over, that would have been gold. Very nice. So that's Sweden all done and dusted. As you can see, very broken game from start to finish. Luckily for us, we don't really have to worry about breaking much else, especially Australia. Australia has a few cuts here and there that we're going to do. But again, not a lot to cry home about. But yes, as you can see, very obscure for what it is. It's probably worth noting, like I said, it's, as I mentioned when we was doing the French rally, is that this game is quite easy to pick up and play in my eyes. It will probably take a bit to get used to the controls, of course. But the thing is that I'd recommend this to anybody that's looking for either something new to play in terms of the racing genre, but also a case of even if racing isn't your thing, maybe just consider giving this a playthrough just for a bit of fun. Because I generally believe it'll be fun to you. In my opinion, my book. Also slid a bit wide there, but we're going to gloss over that. But yeah, because of the lower, as I said, we're going to exploit this game for all we've got, because yeah, you can just cut between these trees and stuff. In the regular Colin McRae Rally 2 game, you can't do that. There are a few cuts that, again, that I won't be doing during this run, because unfortunately they're not that consistent. If we're actually able to get a run lined up where we had all these new cuts, by the way, this run would be about 2 minutes faster than the record, but actually it's not, because these cuts that we're talking about are extremely difficult. Some of the cuts that I'm showing can look difficult. The ice skip in particular is definitely a hurdle for a lot of people. Obviously it's definitely worth to try and practice that to get used to it. There is apparently like a certain line, but every time I do it I just chance it with where I'm going. It also doesn't help that the physics are slightly different in this version compared to Colin McRae Rally 2 either. But anyhow, we move on. Unfortunately, there isn't mods for this game, but you can mod the main version of Colin McRae Rally 2005 if you so desire. It's mainly car skins that you can mod in 2005. However, in Colin McRae Rally 2, there is a lot more than just car skins that you can modify. For example, there are mods called, I think it's the Dirt 2005 to 2007 mod. There is the Dirt 2009 mod, which basically replaces a lot of the cars in the game, or most of the cars, with certain packs. There's also the WRC 2002 pack, which also changes the car engine sounds as well. In my opinion, the Mitsubishi Lancer sounds extremely nice from that pack. We also have, there's also like a few generic maps, not maps, there's a few generic mods that you can get. There is one though that's very well done, although it's several years old now. Hasn't been updated for quite a few years, but would still recommend it anyway, which is the WRC 2016 mod for Colin McRae Rally 2. This basically transforms the game, well, in more ways than one. For example, Italy is now the Monte Carlo Rally. It's got snow on the side of it. And Finland is obviously, well, still Finland, but a lot of the rallies have changed names. For example, Finland is 1,000 Lakes. The UK is known as the RAC Rally. Obviously Sweden is just Swedish Rally. Greece is known as the Acropolis Rally. France is Tour de Corse. Rally San Remo is gone, which would essentially be Italy, but that's Rally Monte Carlo. Obviously Rally Australia is Rally Australia, and Kenya is known as the Safari Rally. So yeah, let's say a lot of the names and things have been changed. So there are a fair few bonus cars that you can unlock in this game. There is a Mini Cooper in here, there's an MGB Sebring, there's a Alpha V6, I think it is, a GT V6, a Volkswagen Golf GTI, Renault Clio V6, obviously the Peugeot 205 T16, amongst others. Also, because they used the McRae Rally 2 sound files, it means that there's supposedly rocks on this stage, specifically here, but there actually isn't because they're not rendered in time, not rendered properly. So yeah, there's a fun little gimmick to have a laugh at. Pardon me. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions you want to ask about the game or anything like that, then feel free to ask them in the chat, and I'll definitely be able to answer them. I try and be as insightful and as knowledgeable as I actually can with this as well. I'd probably do more McRae Rally 2 knowledge, but honestly, given that that's not the game we're running here, I don't feel like that's probably a good idea. Because I have a bit of knowledge on that game too. A bit more than what I've already got, is what I'm saying. Also, what can I say? I like talking. Also, I could probably give a couple of tips. So we do actually have a beginner's guide for McRae Rally 2, but it also applies here as well. My main beginner's tips that I tend to give are the same for everybody. They go to absolutely everybody, which is that if you were to learn this game or McRae Rally 2, or any McRae Rally game, I think it goes with any rally game in general, is we'll keep it specific to this one. Is that if you were to pick this game up and learn it for the first time, then what I would recommend is to basically, that was close, is to basically just learn the stages inside and out. Learn the stages and to get better at them first, without like learning any cuts or shortcuts or anything like that. Once you've got confident enough to do it, then obviously start to build up your glitches and your cuts and things like that. The main thing is the weather. Now, I touched upon the weather system before and I talked about it, but basically the best runners tend to not have any rain at all, if it can be helped. Obviously, we're not going to find out till we get to Italy in the UK. But as I said, because of the fact that, like for example, myself and another guy called Matik, who also do, who like probably the best players for McRae Rally 2, is the fact that you obviously want to make sure that you're not going too overboard with what you're learning, and also to remember that if it rains, it's bad. We tend to reset if it rains straight away. If it rains on Finland, you reset, because of the fact that you're not getting the best out of that rally. The problem is Italy and the UK, by the time you get to these rallies, you've already played, like, you've been playing for nearly an hour. So it really does depend on what the skies decide to throw at you. But as I said, there is a fair bit to uncover and learn about this game. There's a lot more than meets the eye, personally speaking. It's not just this game though, like I said, it is McRae Rally 2 as well. Like I said, I'd highly recommend it for... If you played McRae Rally 2, then chances are you'll love this as well, because, well, not just because it's engaged, but because of the fact of you know, it's got the same stages and things. It's more of the same, but slightly different and kind of looks different. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can kind of say on that matter. Also, no idea if that saves any time, but we'll roll with it. It's a little cut, by the way, that we've picked up recently. Also, this is one of them games as well. I can't really speak on behalf of the main version because everyone's preferences each to their own. But with this game and Colin McRae Rally 2, is that the best way to play the games is actually on a D-pad, not on analog, which I know will make a lot of people feel sick, but yeah, there you go. Also, when the sound loops like that, when I first heard it, it really frightened me because it was just so sudden, but you get used to it after a bit. The other thing is, as well, is it does sound like there's another car behind you, which can also be the reason maybe why it startled me, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, any questions about the game, the series, or myself, feel free to go right ahead and ask, because, like I said, for the most part, Australia and Kenya, as you'll find out next, is not exactly the most exciting rallies in the world. So, for Kenya as well, I just want to mention this, is we do set our gearbox for a longer gearbox. This is the only time in the run that we're actually going to do this, because we want to maximise how much speed we're getting out of this car. Now, there are a few new cuts that we found recently, but I'm actually not going to be doing them in this run for Kenya. Simply because of the fact that they do save about a second or so, but if you mess them up or you don't know where you're going, which I've not practiced them enough to know where I'm going, is that obviously not worth doing, and I'm just going to make a bit of an ass of myself. So yeah, just so everybody knows, I'm playing it safe. So normally all cars are maxed out by default. Well, the standard cars anyway, are maxed out by default at 120 or 125 miles an hour. If you put a longer gearbox on them, they max out at 140 miles an hour. You can go higher than that. You can do the extra long, or max gears, which is, or max speed gearbox, which basically gives you an extra, on top of that, gives you an extra 20 horsepower, extra 20 miles per hour. So you're looking at around, like I said, about 160 miles an hour. The problem is there's not many stages. Like stage 2 is the only stage where that 160 miles an hour is actually usable, because there's no other stages in the game, as far as I'm aware, where you can use it. Maybe bar one or two like in intermediate and expert, there might be like 1 or 2 stages there. But apart from that, that's more, I'd say, like one of the main things as well is that in this game, if you're changing your gearbox, that's like the main thing. Just change the gearbox. But if it's something else, for example, if you wanted to not just change your gearbox, but if you wanted to also change the suspension and your brake bias and really tamper with the car, which you could do, then that's up to you if you want to do that. However, the one thing I will definitely say is that that's meant for ILs only. So that's just meant for individual stages. Yeah, there has been some very interesting cuts found for the not just this game, but like the Colin McRae Rally 2 in general, especially over the last year. But the cuts do go back a fair few years. Like, as I said, the record when the game was originally on the leaderboards was a 1 hour 40 time or something like that. That was quickly improved to 137. Then we had Zola, who's a regular member in the CMR2 community, or Colin McRae Rally community, came along and did a 135. Then I came along and did a 127. I then lowered it to a 126.58. And then came the rise of Lucky. Now Lucky has recently made a bit of a comeback to our community after being away for so long, which is really nice to see him back. How long he'll be back for this time, we don't know, but yeah, he was around like a good 5 years ago, and basically he started finding some like pretty big shortcuts. Like, oh yeah, you can cut this corner, you can cut that corner. This is the thing, that's the thing. And then in the last, I'm going to say 3 years, 2-3 years, so during COVID, is that the time slowly came down. We managed to finally find, during a few years ago, we found out that you can retire, or get disqualified from, because we make such a big gap, because we build such a big gap in the special stages, that you're able to actually build such a big gap that you'll retire that you can be disqualified from a super special stage and still win it, which knocked around 5 minutes off the total time. So that was a race to get sub 1 hour 20, which I did. And then from there, the times had just come down. We then cracked into the 118 mark when we found that there was a new skip that you could do. I think it was in Greece or something like that, or Sweden, I can't remember. And then, yeah, since then it's come down a lot further. Now the record stands at a 115. I can't remember what it is exactly, but 115 something by Matik, who has recently come around in the last year or two, I guess, more the last year than anything else, and has really improved this game. I thought I was good, but no, Matik like blew everybody out the water, myself included, or has done. And the thing is as well is that we because of the cuts I mentioned earlier, and that I mentioned as well, saying like, you know, they're very difficult, is that had all possible shortcuts that are able to be pulled off become pulled off in a run, and you get extremely good weather, then it's like a 112 or a 113 or something. There is actually something that you can do in Finland Stage 1, the very first stage in the game, and what you're able to do is you're able to go in like the farmer's field, I think it is, that's right next to where you're, so where you start Stage 1, you go down a hill and everything, you go around like this field and things, but what you can actually do is you can go into that field, you can actually drive into the field, and what you can do is if you hit a tree at speed and land in the corner of the woods, that you're able to respawn further ahead on the stage. And this apparently saves something like 30 seconds or something, 25 seconds. It saves a lot of time basically. And yeah, so with like a lot of all these shortcuts that are found or have been found and that can be used, is we could probably knock Novice Championship down into a 113, maybe even a 112 at a push, but the time's getting ridiculously quick now, and we're like, you know, like, we're all hoping something drastic happens soon, because if it doesn't, you know, we're hoping we can like find a way of trying to make Australia a bit faster, because Australia right now is not the bane of my existence, but it's a very not really shouldn't be saying this, but it's a very boring rally to win. Kenya's very fast and is done very, very quickly, as you can no doubt see by how long we've spent here. We're already on the fourth stage and we're about to finish it. Italy is one torture track after another, and if it rains it's even worse. But then when you get to the UK, that's where all your hope rests. It's not how good was my Italy or how fast was I in Italy, it's what's the weather going to do in the UK. And if it decides that it doesn't like you and decides, you know what, you're going to have it hard, then yeah, there you go. With that being said, that is Kenya done and dusted. Now, I don't know what the weather's going to be like. Also, we're going to shorten our gearbox here. It seems to be dry, but it may rain. If it does rain, it's not a problem. This is also why we have shorter gears as well. We're going to, as I said, we're going to keep our gearbox short. If it does rain, which it might, looks like it's going to rain. If it does rain, then it rains. We just have to take it as it comes. This is the other thing about this game, is because of the dynamic weather system, because of how much time it loses you. Obviously, it's the reason why my estimate is about, so it's about 8 minutes higher than my PB. But that's simply because of the fact that am I going to match my PB? Probably not. Would be nice, but I don't think I am going to match it. Can I get close to it? Yeah, I can try. But I think in my PB, I had a really dry Italy the whole way through. As you can see with Italy, is that excuse me, there is a fair few corners. You can see why we call it or why I call it Tarmac Hell. Funnily enough, Rally San Remo has actually seen some pretty bad accidents over, well, we're talking like a good 20 years or so ago. I think it was San Remo 2000 or San Remo 2001. Might have been, I think it was 2002. I think it was 2001, but I could be wrong. Basically, Colin McRae had a horrendous accident where he went off the cliff and his car smashed into a ravine, and he punctured his cheekbone, and I think he broke his finger and stuff like that. Something like that. As Colin McRae would always do, he'd have a mad accident. But also, someone who's called Marco Martin, I don't know if he's familiar with anybody here, also had a horrendous accident at Rally San Remo. He went flying off the road at speed and backed into a tree, or smashed backwards into a tree, which gave him severe whiplash. Which was a big shame for him, as you can no doubt imagine. So there is a cut that we can do on this stage that saves about 10 seconds, but again, as I said before, I'll say it again, I'm being marathon friendly here, marathon safe, so we're not going to be doing it. If I was more confident at it would be fine. Also, don't be surprised if I end up coming away from Italy with a completely smashed up car, or by the time we get to the end of stage 4, it's completely battered to bits. That's mainly because of the fact of how many corners there is. Now, one other thing is that because the driving mechanics are so different compared to Colin McRae Rally 2, I actually do a lot more braking in this version compared to Colin McRae Rally 2. Like I said, mainly because of the fact that the car doesn't actually like swing all of its weight in. It does a little bit, or you can tell it does, but it's not as good as it should be, unfortunately. Also, I never owned this game on an N-Gage originally, so I don't generally know if this game did run at 60 FPS. Or I think it's 50 actually. It's supposed to be 60. The emulator's saying 60, but it could be 50, I'm not sure. Whether it was actually supposed to run at that speed, I don't know, but either way, makes for a lot more... Oh, it makes for a lot better of a run. Also, I may have to go quiet for Italy because of the fact of how much concentration is needed, which is quite a lot. So smash the back tail light, that's fine. Visual damage isn't too bad, it's mechanical damage you need to watch for. So it's all fine and dandy me smashing the car up here, but if I smash the front of the car up too badly, then what ends up happening is you end up having a damaged gearbox, which did happen earlier, and makes it a lot worse. And obviously, like I said, we're trying not to make sure it has a damaged gearbox if we can, because you have to make it last the whole rally. As I said, even if it rains, the one thing that we are definitely going to do is, if it rains, you stick with dry tyres no matter what. You don't have to do it. You can try and use or switch to wet tarmac tyres, but honestly, dry tarmac tyres are better. They've actually got more grip than the wet tyres do. And as well, I found out the wet tarmac tyres make you slower, even though they're more suited to the conditions, are a lot slower because they spend more time getting the power down. So basically, it's a loss either way. So you can do this up here, which is quite funny, as the game doesn't think about it. If you so desired, you can do that. Just climb the hill like it's nothing. Again, the game lets you do all this. Everything I'm doing is because the game's letting me do it. If you think, by the way, if you're thinking that like certain countries are busted, you've not seen the UK. The UK has one of the biggest skips in the entire game. Believe it or not, it also finishes off the run as well. So just so everybody knows that in advance. That was a gold split, nice. Got a completely dry Italy, which is really good. So there is actually a cut that we can do here. Is this. Which actually does save time. I used to do that a long time ago, but the thing is, I didn't think it saved any time, but I didn't do the second bit where you cut behind the trees. Now I've got used to doing it, I always do it. Also, there's normally rocks here in this game, well, not in this game, but there's normally rocks there, but because this is obviously the N-Gage version, not the PC version, or the PS1 version, them rocks don't exist, so it makes this stage even faster than it actually is. Which is lucky, because one thing I should mention, in McRae Rally 2 on the PC, the game runs at 60 FPS, although you can run it at higher if you so desire. But it mainly runs at 60 FPS, and the timer runs slightly slower. By that I mean like you can get more in each frame compared to the PS1 version. However, the PS1 version also has an interesting time bug. This is one of the rare few games where the PAL version, or the European version, of the PlayStation 1 title is faster than the North American version. So if you were to play Colin McRae Rally 2 on PS1 and it was a European version of the game, you'd actually be doing stage times that would be far quicker, or not that much quicker, but you'd be able to do faster stage times much easier than if you were to do it on the North American version. For example, I did a 2-minute 3-second stage time, which isn't too bad, but considering PC's faster than PlayStation, it's relatively quick. But on the North American version, I struggled to get anywhere near that for quite a while, and eventually I got a really good stage time, and yeah. Turns out having all them frames is not exactly the best of things at times. Also, with that being said, that is Italy done and dusted. As I said, we are going to change the gearbox on the UK because chances are it's probably raining. Is it raining? No, it's not. But don't be fooled. The English weather does its worst. So welcome to the UK, the hardest rally in the game, bar Italy. However, UK has a few tricks up its sleeve. Happy days. So, yeah, the UK decides it's going to be different. How has it decided it's going to be different? Basically, it decided that, well, if we don't spawn as much, then this should be easy, right? Should be faster. Yeah, pretty much is. Also, here comes the rain right on cue, as I was talking about it. As I was saying, we've got a dry to wet, but that's fine. Again, we've already equivalated for this. So the acceleration we've got is better than the standard gearbox. Also, I'm just going to cut through that small gap there because we can actually do that. There we go. Actually cut past here, as you can see. Actually went a bit too wide there, that's fine. But yeah, so because it's raining, it's going to make our stage times a bit longer. However, with the with the shortened gearbox, it actually makes stages a bit easier because obviously in the wet you ideally want good acceleration. If you got the standard gearbox, your acceleration won't be nearly as quick. It might seem like a stupid gimmick, but trust me, it is faster. There we go. And that is how you do stage 1. Now there is another cut that I could have done there, but I chose not to do it because, well, not exactly marathon friendly. That one was a bit risky that I took at the end there, but it's usually fine. I practiced it enough to know where it is. So this stage in the wet can be a bit of a nightmare, but luckily we'll be miles ahead of the AI. You can see here as well the top speed of the car is slower by 10 miles an hour, but that's fine. So we're going to be doing a lot of sliding. Obviously the idea is to try and keep us on track. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. This could actually be close to my PB here, so am I about to get close twice in one day? 2 different runs, 2 different times. Can I get anywhere near the PB? I wonder. So you can see I'm bouncing off a lot of stuff. This actually will help me get around corners faster. Sometimes, not every time, I'll grant you. as I said, the shorter gearbox does actually help with when you're in the wet, because obviously you want to make sure you're not losing too much in terms of what's going on. Luckily for us, we should be fine. It can also choose to dry up. If it does, then I'll be very happy about that. But by the looks of it, it doesn't look like it's going to dry up. That's fine. So, because there's a lot less trees in this stage, we're actually able to cut some more corners than usual. How and why, I generally don't know, other than just, yeah, lack of engagement power, I guess. We actually found out that you can do this so there's a guy, I can't actually give like his full name because I forget what he's actually called, but we've been in contact with someone recently from the Colin McRae Rally 2 leaderboards. Not speedrun wise, just from like a racer's perspective and things like that. And turns out there was a lot of shortcuts that we were missing. They're only minor, but they're still shortcuts nonetheless. Some of these I've introduced in my runs now, others I don't do because we can't find them or can't figure them out, or they are slower than what they should be, but yeah. Also, so you can do this like that. That's something you can do. So normally in that courtyard in front of that house, there's a load of bollards and stuff. And normally what you can do is, well, not normally what you can do, but normally you can cut through the bollards. But because they're not there, it means that we're able to actually do that shortcut a lot faster. It's also the same story in a minute, when we get to a junction just a bit down here in a minute. Normally there are hay bales, or straw hay bales, and we don't actually need to do said hay bales here, so we can just do this. Like that. I think it is drying up. It looks like it might be. Possibly. Might be drying up. Looks like it. It looks like it's stopping. I think we've got lucky here. Looks like it's drying to me. That's a good sign. There we go. Stuff. So now we have our final stage, which is this. So prepare for the most busted stage for this game, but also for 2005, for the second Colin McRae Rally as well. So we found out we can beat this stage in a lot less time than developers originally intended. How? Well, a bit like this. So just watch where my car goes here. So it's like, oh, okay, fair enough, you're able to do that, yeah. I am actually, yes. I fit through that gap there. Go in the water here. As you can see. Climb up on here, like this. Okay, maybe not. Hit that a bit early. I did that in practice as well, god damn it. Basically what happens is the game doesn't stop you. So you drive close to a water line, which you can briefly see on my right there. Eventually it says wrong way. And now, hopefully, if I can get it this time. There we go. And now respawn at the end. And that's it. that is the run all done and dusted. As I said, it wasn't supposed to go as wrong at the end as it should have done, but it did. But yeah, so we win 12 points for that, you get 96 points overall, and we win the gold trophy. And for that, you have a nice championship complete screen. As I said, this is completely busted. So this is the bug that you get at the end. The one thing that I need to mention here. So, we originally thought that this was down to the fact of... Yeah, we originally thought that this was down to a bug within the game, within certain people's games, because certain people got that, got this ending, and other people actually got the normal ending. So what's supposed to happen here, just as a bit of context, is your car is supposed to go across the bottom of the screen, park in front of a house's gates, and then you're supposed to see the fireworks. However, what we've actually clarified this, down to, is that this is only available if you play in automatic. So you get the normal, I'll call it the normal ending. If you play in automatic. With manual, you get this bugged ending. So let me just briefly explain as well what's trying to happen here. So because what the game, we're guessing, has a command. So in automatic, if you go on board with the car immediately starts in reverse and goes straight. Because what happens is the car can immediately, as soon as it gets dropped, it can just put the gas down and go forward. So because of that, you get the ending, the car goes past the bottom of the screen, parks in front of the gates, and voila, you can see the fireworks. However, in manual, the game doesn't know what to do, so what it does is instead, it reverses. And then after it reverses, the car starts to accelerate and stops like half a mile away from the house. In this version, you can't actually change the camera view, but in Colin McRae Rally 2, which is what this game is based off, you actually can. So you can go into the camera view, you'll see the car reversing, it'll go into the void, respawn, start driving and stop. And then when it stops, you'll see the fireworks, albeit in the distance, but you can see the fireworks. And that's how it works. Also, if that wasn't enough, you get the Colin McRae Rally 2005 Engage credits as well. Hopefully that run was about as fun and exciting to watch. I know this game is a bit obscure. I mean, there is a couple of runners on here. We're hoping to try and get this a bit more popular. We're trying to get Colin McRae Rally 2 runners and new runners alike to give this a shot. If you are interested in getting this game to run, or the Engage emulator as a whole to run, feel free to hit me up on Discord, or you can join my chat and I can easily provide a link to it. I could obviously provide a link if anybody needs it. But yeah, on that note, I'm just going to quickly round this out by saying thank you again to SpeedGaming and the Obscur-a-thon group, as it were, to allow me to participate with not just one run but 2 runs. I wish you all the best for the rest of the marathon. Shout out as well to the Colin McRae Rally Discord, that are an amazing community of people that keep breaking these games more and more by the day, it would seem. We don't know how far this goes, but yeah, there's a lot of breaking going on. And obviously shout outs to my own community back on my own channel. So yeah, if you're interested, by the way, I do stream a fair bit as and when I can. It's mainly racing games, but I do venture out from time to time and do other games, not just this one. And yeah, on that note, I'm going to hand it over to intermission. Thank you very much for having me again, and enjoying this run, hopefully. Oh, sorry, hopefully you enjoyed this run. And yeah, I will catch you guys around. For now, though, I'll hand it back to intermission. See you later.